Hello again, everyone. It's Ian, your resident philosopher,
And Abby, your resident author, and also a cameo from Darwin the cat.
and also Darwin, your resident cat. And welcome. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Dancing with Damage, episode 2. Are we damaged?
Ooh.
That's going to be our topic today. As always, we have our delicious beverages. We hope you have yours also.
It's a good time for beverages, watching Dancing with Damage.
Abby, how is it you lured Darwin the cat onto your lap this episode?
So I don't know if you are cat people out there in the world. We have cats and dogs, or cat and dogs. Darwin is a Maine Coon, and he is a very social breed of cat. And Darwin sometimes likes just sitting in my lap. So Darwin has chosen that route today. So we decided he can just be here for filming because he wasn't really getting in the way. He might be snoring loudly into my microphone, and if that's the case, I deeply apologize, but he's really cute. So
He is a sleepy breed of cat. And we can't be sleepy like Darwin. We have to be focused on the problems of the world.
we have to wake up to the reality of damage.
Oh, that's good.
I like
And
that.
Darwin kind of woke up when you said that. So that works out. Yeah, because like we talked about last episode, the previous video, we talked a little about damage. And to recap, depending on how long it's been since you watched that one, that damage in our theory, as purported in the social blueprint. Hey, Abby.
Yes.
Uh-oh, we lost our our guest.
Too talkative.
So as we talk about in the book and in our original theory, is that damage is a hidden force which causes people to self-destruct and self-sabotage. And it's very sad at the end of the day because humans, especially in this day and age, have so much potential. We're the most literate we've ever been. We have the access to the most information we've ever had. And in first world developed countries, there's lots of human rights and lots of, the rule of law is present. And yet we just can't seem to get it together, eh, Abby?
No, I mean, there's even advances in healthcare that are, unthinkable 10
Mhm.
years ago,
Mhm.
but we have them.
It's sort of sad. It's like a carpenter. No, it's like a farmer. It's like a farmer who has all these wonderful seeds
Mm.
and all this wonderful field to plant the seeds, and all the farmer can grow is weeds.
Oh dear.
And you're thinking, why can't this farmer just plant these nice seeds? And that's a little bit how humans are, in my view. So we have we're very lucky as a species, and our planet is kind of a lucky place anyway. Like, think about that, Abby, in the Milky Way, in the universe, how many planets have the ability to support life like Earth?
We haven't found any others yet. So we know for sure there's us, but we don't seem to be treating the planet super duper awesome.
That's right.
There's a lot of gratitude.
So it's very sad if humanity cannot get its act together. And so one thing we see a lot of on the news and on the internet and the different social media places,
Platforms.
I am not very tech savvy. Thank goodness Abby is that there's just everywhere in the world, no matter where you look, there seems to be things just going wrong.
Mm.
And Abby, would you say that those things that are going wrong are things that have sort of sprung up from the rocks and the trees, or are they more to do with how people are behaving in those places?
Are the rocks and the trees our enemies? And you're just telling me now? I'm kidding. All of the problems I can see internationally are things like our first episode where we gave examples of damage, where we have the knowledge and wherewithal to be able to fix a problem that don't, are all things we could fix as a society. They're all things that we've warned about for many years. We have the resources to do something about it, yet nothing has been done.
That is true. And as a side note, rocks and trees could be your enemies if you are low to the ground, if you are prone to trippage,
If you are fighting the forest.
if you are walking on an unmarked trail. Those could be your fiercest enemies. But instead, if you look around at developed first world countries, we kind of are our own worst enemy. Abby sort of in glancing talked about climate change.
Mm.
And how so many of the population are still sort of resistant, despite the sort of consensus of the scientific community that it's here, it's continuing, it's progressing, and it's going to sort of inundate us, and not too long unless there's major action. And still, it's not really a major force in our lives that we think about or that policy seems to revolve around. It would sort of be like if you were sitting in the house with all your friends,
as we often do.
as we often do, or all your pets and all your friends, like Darwin the cat.
The cat was invited to the party.
And you get a phone call. Oh, who's this? Oh, it's Public Works. It's the gas company. There's a gas leak in your house and it's going to explode pretty soon. We advise you to open the windows and to turn off the gas nozzles.
The evacuate?
Maybe evacuate. Well, yeah, maybe take some steps. Maybe turn off all the things that are flammable. Maybe the flamethrower guy in the living room. Maybe he chills.
Do you have a flamethrower friend?
I mean, don't we all?
Can't even say it.
Don't we all have that one friend who will not stop igniting into a conflagration?
Hello, police. My friend is a criminal. Oh, thank you. Bye.
No, but imagine the folks sitting around, get the dinner table, get that call, but they're more interested in sort of, who's wearing the nicest clothes, and if the flowers, look really nice.
Or celebrities. I know that's a big one. People talk about celebrities instead of the world.
Sure, they're talking about celebrities at the party instead of the gas leak. That would be very strange if that happened, right? That party I'm describing, for many reasons, but it would be weird if everyone just kind of ignored the gas leak. And so in the same way, it's very strange that humanity is doing the same thing. And that's a good example of social damage. And so, Abby, in the book, we talk about sort of society being damaged too, eh?
Indeed. So I don't know if I'm spoiling the surprise. Stop me if I am. But damage is self-sabotage that ruins your own life over time as an individual.
Mm-hmm.
But if enough individuals are ruining their own lives and making bad decisions, what do you think that does to the society and maybe politics?
For sure, because it can be frustrating. Now, I'm 36.
Mm-hmm.
I nailed it.
You did. Often I tell him how old he is.
That's right. I'm thinking of, getting it written down somewhere.
It changes every year.
Problem is you need a lot of space as time goes on. So I'm 36. Abby is...
do you know?
I'm going to say 30. 31, I was going to say.
31.
Pretty close. Again, the thing is, it always changes. Like, your address is just one number. You can remember that.
He knows my name. I'm pretty happy, The bar is apparent. It sounds low, but he's a wonderful husband, so I'm not mad.
Wow, that is a low threshold. But you know what? I'm happy with that, because you really can't. If expectations are low, then even if you perform sort of mediocre, you seem very awesome.
Yeah, he's wonderful.
I am either wonderful or mediocre and seeming wonderful, but that's fine. Either way, I changed my tie for this episode. Did you see?
I saw. We were debating if we should have the same uniform every episode, and I decided no. And Ian wanted to show you another tie, so that was the conclusion we made.
I do love ties, and so this is a fun tie. But that's right. So in the story, we talk a bit about, or in the book, there's a story that talks about how if enough people in society are damaged, then the whole society becomes damaged. It's not in the book, but an example I was thinking about the other day was if you had a tree.
Ooh.
And if you had, I was driving down the highway the other day, and there were some tent caterpillars that had sort of taken up residence in a tree, and it started on one branch, and those leaves all kind of got caterpillared.
And in case you don't live in a climate that has tent caterpillars, for I had no idea what they were until about 3 years ago, when we moved to our current city. Tent caterpillars are these horrifying things that create spider webs, but huge cocoons of spider webs, and they just kill the trees. And they're evil. That's essentially how I understand them.
we do love nature here on the Dancing with Damage, but there are some evil creatures as well.
I love nature. I will stand up and fight for nature, but they are killing all the trees with their evil. These are an evil creature. There is some evil in the world, and we have to admit that.
Last episode we talked about Cinderella, as Abby's a good story Abby liked, and there was an evil stepmother.
The tent caterpillar did not want Cinderella to go to the ball or have happiness. She wanted to just kill the tree.
So they're probably not evil, but my point is, Yeah, sometimes a tree can get like some fungus or like a pest, and it kind of turns some of the leaves sick.
Mm.
And then if enough of the leaves on the tree are sick, then the tree eventually sort of starts to die. And that's sort of like how if enough people in even a developed first world country like Canada, like other democratic first world countries, we see that enough of them, if you look carefully and you know what to look for, we talked about damage, examples of damage last time. If you know what to look for, you can see that those countries have often tipped that critical mass, and the tree of society that holds up all the leaves of the people is now starting to die and to crumble. And so that's what we're seeing on the news, in our opinion. And it's very frustrating for people in our age group to see all this happen. Why can't people just get it together? Why can't the leaders of the countries just get it together? Why can't the left and right wings of political parties just meet in the middle for their own benefit? Hey, Abby.
Yeah, I find that I hear a lot of people say they don't interact with politics because it's just too depressing. But the problem is, if I may just be a bit nerdy for a second,
Oh, yeah, okay.
politics is everything. So when you say politics, it's not different parties fighting for control of a nation or a city. Politics is how much your water bill costs. Politics is if there's a stop sign being added at an intersection. Politics is whether or not you're allowed to let your lawn grow for no mow May, or if you have to keep it at a certain height. Everything you do that involves interacting with the world or other people is politics. So it's vitally important as humans that we care and we're involved.
Are tent caterpillars, do they fall under politics?
Yes, they are an invasive species officially, and various cities work to remove them and put them in caterpillar jail, presumably. I haven't checked on this, but it just stands to reason.
Yes. So that is true. Paul, and it's not really people's fault, I don't think. Abby's right. When you talk to people, a lot of, especially young people, have sort of just they're turned off politics.
Mm-hmm.
And so our theory in the book, and what we're going to be talking about a little bit today, circuitously, we will eventually get there, I assume, is the question is, are we damaged? Is society damaged? And the answer is, just like if a person has damage, they have a hidden force that causes them to self-destruct against what they ought to do,
Mm-hmm.
what they know they ought not to do. And the greater the self-destruction, the greater they cripple their own lives, that precious life, the greater their damages. Well, let's look at a society and let's apply the same logic. If the society, through politics,
Mm-hmm.
as Abby mentioned, employs policies that are self-sabotaging for the people they are meant to serve, despite knowing that those policies would lead to that sort of harm, we can call that a damaged society. Hey, Abby.
Yes. Can I give an example?
I wish we must be married, you and I, because I was just about to ask if you could give an example. Are we married?
I sure hope so. I've been telling everyone for many years.
We did talk about that last episode, but I thought, how fun to see if we still are. You never know.
No, we joke. We have, I'd say, a very excellent relationship, the kind of relationship you would hope to have if you find the right person. And I think that's one of the reasons we work together so well. And I'm so grateful to have him because he is quite wonderful. But an example of a damaged policy, if I may.
If I may, thank you for saying that, but I might sneeze. So just be aware.
If he sneezes, I will edit that out of this video. Rest assured.
Wait, you edit these?
I sure hope so.
So an example.
So I don't know what your beautiful brain's coming up with. One example of something, so climate change is something we've mentioned, something we're very passionate about. Mm-hmm. And while everyone doing something will make a difference, often what countries allow companies to do, mm-hmm. as in cutting down trees or using chemicals or making plastics that they don't need to make, often that is the biggest factor when it comes to climate change. And one thing that drives me crazy is single-use plastics. While they can be fun, I'm looking at discount stores that sell tiny, cheap plastic toys, mm-hmm. that break immediately. They don't have a purpose. They're not fun. People sometimes buy them for birthday parties or just for kids, and they're immediately thrown away. And all of that oil is plastic, and all the plastic goes into the ocean, and it takes so many years for it to break down, and it just hurts the environment. But we don't have any policies in Canada that say, hey, you can't manufacture or import any of these things that are useless. Because if they didn't exist, other more sustainable companies would step in, and then there'd be better products that people could buy, instead.
That's true. So, and that's a great example of social damage. Is it's a policy where if people kind of, if you ask individual people, do you agree with creating pollution that chokes sea turtles to death and causes the death of the Great Barrier Reef and all?
Too dark.
It is a little dark.
It's too dark.
But we have to face these things with hope.
We have to get the flashlight under the sink.
If you were there last episode, you know about our flashlight sink. And so, if you ask most people in developed countries, it's we don't like that. If we saw a sea turtle choking on a Pepsi bottle cap, we would try and save it. And yet, those individuals have not produced a democratic leader typically that has sort of banned it. Now, some countries are doing better than others, and I recognize that. But you think as a species, we would that would be a no-brainer for all our developed first world countries, and it's not. I'll give it what Abby says about if everybody just did the right thing, and that's sort of a mentality that is prevalent but not helpful. And I'll tell you why. You'll often hear people say, well, if we want the world to be a better place, we just have to be the example we want to see. And that's a very good starting point. But for many, many years, that's been the mentality, Abby? And do we find that that's sufficient to bring a country or human civilization generally pointed in the right direction?
Well, unfortunately not, because unless major corporations, we can decide, just to step to the side for a second, we can decide what we buy in stores. We have that power. But if we're only given bad options, then we can't win. So it's not just what we choose to buy, how we choose to recycle, what we choose to do with our resources. It's what are companies allowed to provide as options to us? What will the government allow to be imported into our country that is an option? Because if it really is such a problem, it shouldn't be an option at all. I mean, if you've walked into a doctor's office and the doctor said, hey, I have 2 needles. One will cure the flu. You won't get the flu ever again in your life. And the other one will make your right arm fall off. Which would you like? There's a definite right answer there, but one of them shouldn't be an option.
Yeah, we do have good healthcare in Canada. So that's very true. And so generally what we're getting at here, and what the book is getting at, is that it's possible to correct what society is doing, but first we have to repair individuals. And just like a barn, if you had a barn that's made up of planks and many have rotted away, and you don't want the barn to collapse in and kill your livestock, what you want to do is you want to replace all the rotten boards, and so you can have a strong, you want to enhance those boards.
And as a fun aside, if you happen to buy the book, you don't have to. We're going to go over the theory for free on this YouTube channel. But if you're adventurous, The Farmer in the Barn, featured in The Social Blueprint. Learn more about the rotten planks.
Yes. And we are going to get to how people become damaged, how these leaves can get diseased, how these planks can get rotten. We're going to talk all about that. But it's first to know in these sort of earlier episodes that there's a greater purpose to addressing these issues. We talked about climate change, plastics pollution. Another really good one is the election of sort of unfit politicians. This is sort of a big topical problem right now, Abby?
Yes, I don't know how political we're going to get on the channel. Probably as we continue on, we will be more bold.
Yep.
But to start, we'll be very vague. But if there are no good candidates to choose from, no one wins.
That's right. And so the political one, Abby likes politics. That's actually how we met in a political sort of arena.
Yes, that's true. We are politically motivated people because we feel that the world needs to be a better place. And if we don't have good options, we can't vote for good options. So we were trying to be good options.
So that's an example of the way society is damaged. There's many ways. For example, automation, AI seems to be taking over the job market. This is something that we all can kind of agree is a negative thing, because we all can kind of agree that humans want a productive role, to be contributing members of society, and not just sort of the livestock that is serviced by computers. We don't want that. Nevertheless, we watch as countries and nations allow AI just to dominate the job market. Yeah.
The question is not, can technology make things faster, cheaper, and easier? The question is, should we allow technology? Do we need it to be faster, cheaper, and easier? Do the 5 people at the top making the money need those extra dollars, rather than allowing people to have jobs, livelihood, and skills?
Yep, that's a very common one. And one more for good measure. There's a big wealth divide. The divide between classes has started to greatly increase. Now, it has been like that historically, where there were sort of kings, and then sort of the feudal caste system, where at the bottom were sort of the ultra impoverished, and at the top were the ultra wealthy. And for a while, humanity kind of had a good balance there. But now we see that divide start to increase. And so for that reason, we can kind of tell that social issues are actually getting worse. And so that's why this theory, I think, in this series are very important to talk about, because it's, these problems are not like an injury that's scabbing over. They're sort of like an injury that's bleeding more and more. Yeah.
It's like under the sink. It's just gushing.
Yeah, it's arterial now. So are we damaged? That's the question of this episode. The evidence points to yes, if we accept that the theory of damage on an individual level is bad governance of a person, despite the ability and the knowledge to do better. Well, then society is bad governance of a people, despite the ability and knowledge to do better. And so, yeah, societies have become very damaged in our submission, Abby.
Indeed.
But don't worry. Can be fixed. Humans are very resilient.
Message of hope.
There is a plan.
We have a plan.
We have a plan. We want you to get on board with the plan.
The plan.
And something I wanted to mention last time, but I didn't. Yeah. I want to mention something. I can mention something I wanted to mention last time.
Yeah.
It's our show.
It's our show.
We can do that. Abby and I didn't have kids. And I know a lot of people in our situation do end up having kids. And my view is that often it's sort of like a reason, a raison d'être, as you might say in French.
A reason to be, to exist. Your purpose in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people in their 30s especially sort of feel that unless they have a kid, maybe their life doesn't have substance. And so Abby and I are sitting here without children, and one thing we found that certainly helps give us sort of something to look forward to and to fight for, despite not having kids, is this theory, which is improving society in a different way than having kids can improve society. Hey, Abby.
Yeah, I think one of our episodes will be about many reasons why we chose the path of not having kids. I also just like to point out, I find that a lot of people my age, you ask them, why do you want to have kids? It's what people do. They never take a second to consider if they want kids, if kids will make them happy, if they can financially afford kids. And it's sad when you meet parents who they say they love their kid, and because they love them, they never change anything, but you can tell they're fundamentally unhappy. And maybe their lives...
That's pretty... She got me in trouble for being dark with the whole Great Barrier Reef thing.
We have to be honest on this show. There are some people who realize that maybe they weren't cut out to be parents, but they find out too late.
Yeah, that's very sad. And that's very damaged. Ooh, we're going to talk about that. But what I'm getting at is, if you stick around, you may find that this philosophy kind of gives a rudder to your ship if you feel that maybe you didn't have one and You wouldn't be alone if you felt that way. A lot of people in this day and age, when we're just one number amongst billions, when it seems like we don't have any control over the way our communities are headed, or way the society is headed, this will give you a rudder. I think it's given us a rudder, and it's always nice to have that, to hold on to that. Now, on the flip side, it does sort of carry an obligation to, once you know about the theory, you may find you feel a responsibility to help it propagate, or help enact it in your own life. There's a saying: if you have a light, don't hide it under a bushel.
As we all have bushels in our garages.
So hopefully you feel that this philosophy will become your light, and we encourage you not to bushel it.
Don't bushel it. I'm going to Google what a bushel is when we stop filming this video.
I am pretty sure. Now, that is actually a biblical reference. We're going to be talking about religion on the show. Abby and I aren't particularly religious in the conventional sense, but we will draw on some examples from the Bible from time to time and other holy texts.
Yep. We try to be fair in our assessment and in making the theory, to make sure that we weren't discounting anything. So, especially Ian, but we have looked at many different religions in the world and many different philosophies to compare and contrast, because I find the best way to test if your beliefs are strong are to directly oppose them and see if they change after they're contested.
As the saying goes, iron sharpens iron.
And bushels hide lights.
I think a bushel is like a basket. It was never explained to me.
I'm picturing something leafy, like because the word bush. I'm picturing a leafy basket.
I suspect it's like a bushel of apples is in like a wicker basket that contains a bushel. You know what? But then again, why would you put a candle under a wicker basket? You're going to get a wicker flambe.
It's unclear. I think there are some holes in this story.
There'd be some holes in that bushel, I tell you that for nothing. So what I'm trying to get at is that we really like this theory, and we want to test it out by sharing it with you and hearing what you think about it. We're pretty early on. It's pretty early days.
Yep.
But stick with us. We really appreciate you stopping by. We'll see you next episode 3, on Dancing with Damage.
Yeah. Have a great day.